In a past video, I was talking about how the government's plan to rectify healthcare is by creating some form of Fiat system. The employers are required to offer benefits, and the individual is required to be on some form of plan. Well, in today's news, they've now are actually attaching some numbers to it. So let's see how the penalty is going to play out. Take, for example, for the individual, such as myself. If I don't sign up for some plan, they're going to charge me 2.5% of my income. Well, in my case, it turns out to be about $1,000. Well, I was looking at the plan offered by my employer. It's going to cost me $2,200 a year. It would seem as though the federal penalty is cheaper than actually having the plan. Yes, I could get sick and actually require it. Of course, the last time I had the employer plan, they wouldn't pay for anything anyways. And so I was actually better off not accepting it. Well, I think that that's going to be true for a lot of people. Paying the penalty is cheaper than actually having the insurance. If that's the case, no one's going to sign up for the insurance, and we're still going to have the problem. I alluded to that in a previous video, that may be motivating some people not to have health insurance. Well, now let's look at it from the employer. My employer does offer, partially because the law requires it, because I'm a public employee. The employer would get docked 8% of the person's wages if they're not offered. Well, as it turns out, my employer, their contribution to my insurance, if I had it, would only be about $1,500 or $1,600. 8% of my wages is $32. So yeah, it's in their best interest to go ahead and offer it to me. And better yet, if I accept it. Because they're paying almost little of my insurance. What about other companies? People have a tendency to dogpile on the biggest companies. Say, for example, Walmart. A lot of people complain that Walmart doesn't offer benefits and they're cheap and blah, blah, blah. Let's look at this from this idea, though. Let's say, for example, they're paying their lowly employees $7 or $8 an hour. Now, if they're only going to get hit for 8%, that basically turns out to be about 60 cents an hour. Now, is that individual costing the company more than, let's say, $8.50 an hour when they're not being offered insurance or when they are? Is it cheaper for the company to offer the insurance and, of course, pay their part of it on the risk that it may actually cost the company more than simply the extra 60 to 70 cents an hour? You know, if Walmart figures out that the insurance is costing them more than 50 or 60 cents an hour for employee, of course they're not going to offer it. They're just going to suck up the penalty because it's cheaper for them. I'd already mentioned this before, but now that we actually have numbers, we now have something to talk about and something to complain about. And hopefully maybe our politicians will realize that they're not helping the situation, that they're basically only driving it even deeper. But, as I said, their plan all sounds good on paper, but in practice, it still doesn't cut the bill.